Hello, my name is Alexis Foley, and I will be presenting today on student perceptions on and preferences of instructor feedback. The motivation behind the data collected in this presentation is really just from an instructor perspective. Myself noticing that students were not viewing their assignments in the learning management system after feedback had been provided. So I thought to myself, maybe some data collection on how students perceive feedback, how they view feedback, and when they find it to be beneficial would be advantageous. So, the purpose here is to understand how students perceive and prefer to receive feedback from their instructors and the intended audience is instructors in higher education. For my data collection, I used Google Forms, and the survey consisted of 6 quantitative questions of multiple forms and 1 open-ended qualitative question. The quantitative questions were multiple choice, multiple answers, Likert scale, and then again the qualitative question was open-ended. I received 12 responses on this survey. So here's an example of the survey that was sent out. For the data analysis, I did 2 things. First, there was a descriptive analysis. So for each of these responses here, I assigned a numerical value and then determined the mean, median, and mode using codes in Excel. And then I took a look at the summary review from Google Forms and reviewed both to draw conclusions. So here's an example of the descriptive analysis in Microsoft Excel. So you can see here the code. So you can see the 1 is coded for individual feedback. So what is your preferred method of instructor feedback? We can see here 1, individual feedback on assignments, 2, class, a summary based off of all the submissions, and 3 is both. So the mean was 1, the mode was 1, and then the median fell right here between 1 and 3. Did the same thing for all of the questions, but here's an example of question 3.2. How often do you read feedback if revisions are not required for the final assignment grade? So we can see here that the median and the mode were 3, always with a mean of 2.833, which is close to 3, but right between 2 and 3. So most students answered occasionally or always. Here's a summary and the graph to go along with the responses. And so the results, what are students thinking and feeling? Again, 66.7% of students prefer individual feedback. These responses really stood out to me from the Likert scale, where 11 out of 12 students feel more connected to the instructor with frequent feedback and are more likely to actively engage with frequent feedback. For this question, the question was, what assignments do students find feedback to be beneficial on? And we can see that 11 out of 12 students felt that feedback was beneficial on projects, and 10 out of 12 felt that feedback was beneficial on written assignments, where only 5 out of 12 felt that feedback was beneficial on discussion boards. So from an instructor perspective, I might put more time and energy into providing feedback on projects and written assignments and a little bit less time on discussion boards. Preferred feedback type, so 50% of students prefer annotated feedback. So for example, in the Canvas learning management system, you can put comments directly on a submitted document. 33% prefer audio, and 16.7% prefer text. So for example, just a summary comment on the assignment, which really stood out to me. How often do you read feedback if revisions are not required for your grade? Again, most students answer always and sometimes, so that we can see that feedback is incredibly important in courses. So again, here are some statistics that stood out. Particularly 92% of students found feedback on projects to be beneficial. It's a staggering statistic. So a couple of conclusions. Students definitely prefer individual feedback on their assignments. Feedback may not be valuable on all assignments. So if instructors are limited on time and resources, they might choose which assignments need the most and more thorough feedback. And then instructors should gauge how their class views feedback and take this into consideration in instruction, because of course a lot of these things are going to be contextual. And of course, good feedback is the key to improvement. So thank you. If you have any questions, you can find me at afoley@student.umgc.edu.